As part of a terrifying forecast that includes gusts of 130 miles per hour and a heavy storm surge, Hurricane Helene is now expected to reach Florida as a Category 4 hurricane. This will create a grave situation for hundreds of miles along the state's coast, forcing entire communities to evacuate. After strengthening into a hurricane on Wednesday, forecasters said Helene would become much more dangerous and potent before reaching landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast on Thursday evening. Earlier on Wednesday, it was thought that Helene would arrive as a Category 3 hurricane. Weakening is expected after landfall, but Helene's fast forward speed will allow strong, damaging winds, especially in gusts, to penetrate well inland across the southeastern United States, including over the higher terrain of the southern Appalachians, warned the National Hurricane Center. Inundation as high as 20 feet above ground level, combined with destructive waves, is expected along areas of the Florida Big Bend coast, the NHC warned. A catastrophic and deadly storm surge is possible. Storm surge will probably set records throughout the coast, according to Craig Fugate, a former director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management and administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, who called this the worst case for the Tallahassee region and Big Bend of Florida. According to AccuWeather forecasters, the area along the eastern part of the Florida Panhandle, possibly the Big Bend area, which is the curve of Florida's peninsula around the Gulf of Mexico, has the highest probability of experiencing a landfall late on Thursday. In the vicinity of Helene's landfall, general rainfall of 8 to 12 inches is anticipated, with isolated areas possibly receiving up to 2 feet of rain. Helene will bring catastrophic winds and storm surge to the northeastern Gulf Coast, the Hurricane Center warned in a 1 a.m. CDT update, adding that preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. NOAA warns of a risk of flooding hundreds of kilometers inland. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration made the unusual move of contacting news organizations on Wednesday to highlight the extent of Hurricane Helene's expected damage in inland areas far beyond the Florida Gulf Coast. NOAA warned communities in the western Carolinas and northeast Georgia to prepare for catastrophic, life-threatening inland flooding, pointing out that Helene's wind fields extend up to 275 miles from its core. Major flooding is also expected in urban areas in Helene's path, including Tallahassee, Florida, and Atlanta, which are separated by more than 200 miles, as well as Asheville, North Carolina. Though Friday, when storm total rainfall amounts are forecast to be up to 18 inches, heavy rainfall is expected to start in portions of the southeastern United States even well before landfall, a press release from NOAA stated. The storm will move northward into the southern Appalachians region. Scientists warn that because Helene's core avoids Yucatan, it might develop stronger. Andy Hazelton, an associate scientist at the University of Miami's Cooperative Institute for Marine and Atmospheric Studies and NOAA's Atlantic Oceanic Meteorological Laboratory, says it looks like the center of Helene is staying over open water and not hitting Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula on Wednesday. The storm's core will be allowed to coalesce unhindered by remaining over the water and not crossing land, according to Hazelton's post on X. The stage is being set such that the higher-end intensity outcomes are possible depending on structure, he said. In Southeast, millions are under storm warnings. According to the National Weather Service, there were hurricane and tropical storm advisories for over 42 million people across Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Given that 100 miles per hour gusts are tearing through the Florida capital, Helene may also turn into Tallahassee's worst wind event in recorded history. Hurricane forecaster for USA Today Network Florida and creator of Weather Tiger Ryan Truchelet noted that Helene is an unprecedented storm. Helene stands toe-to-toe with any of the threats that Florida has faced over the past 10 years or indeed really over hurricane history, said Truchelet. Jody Griffiths weathered Hurricane Debbie in his Big Bend, California home on Cedar Island, a month ago. However, he told USA Today on Wednesday that he will follow the local evacuation order that was given out before Hurricane Helene, as he fortified his stilt home with cladding and shutters. "My instinct is telling me to leave," he murmured. 8 to 10-foot storm surge potential scares me, the pub owner says. Owner of Krabby Dad's Bar Scott Peters, 46, oversaw a crew loading beer, coolers, and liquor into trucks on Wednesday in coastal Steinhatchee, a Big Bend town in Taylor County. Peters said the storms that have hit the bar he's owned for 19 years seem to keep getting stronger every season. The Steinhatchee River flows into Deadman Bay approximately 100 feet away from the bar on First Avenue. "We're taking everything I can lift and move and things I didn't take out last time that I learned a lesson from," stated Peters. "This is a low-lying location, so you take every storm as seriously as you can. We're essentially at sea level," Peters said, as a county emergency alert alerted neighbors on cell phones, warning of a dangerous storm surge and advising them to stockpile 3 days' worth of supplies before the storm makes landfall on Thursday evening. Peters expressed concern that, given how quickly Helene was strengthening, a massive storm surge might be driven toward shore. He claimed that when he was a child, locals would celebrate hurricanes and weather storms together. He was persuaded otherwise by the recent spate of stronger hurricanes. "If this thing comes in and goes over us as fast as they're saying, we could get 8 to 10 feet of water. I'm afraid of that," Peters remarked. "It's approaching so quickly that we didn't have much time to prepare. Preparing and praying that the strong storm will pass." Using a piece of construction equipment, Mike Kicklighter raised himself at Keaton Beach, approximately 65 miles southeast of Tallahassee, in order to mount a remote camera to a telephone pole on his now vacant coastal site. Georgian resident Kicklighter, 47, usually kept a mobile home on the sandy lot, but he moved it for safety. The home of his neighbor is supported by more than 20-foot-tall concrete pillars. As he tightened the strap holding the camera, he made a joke to his neighbor, saying, "I want to watch your house fall." He remarked that they are really keeping a close eye on the storm's path and hoping it moves much farther to the west. Kicklighter declared on Wednesday, as they wrapped up packing and were ready to place an ice machine on a pickup truck's bed, "We're all pitched to roll out. The surge was the main concern, but it's possible that we were just wasting our time. I hope we succeeded. What is fast intensification, and is Helene likely to experience it?" A hurricane is said to be rapidly intensifying if its winds pick up 35 miles per hour or more in a single day. Robbie Berg, a specialist at the Hurricane Center, stated in a forecast on Wednesday morning that computer models suggest a high possibility of Helene experiencing fast strengthening over the next 24 hours. With less wind shear and far warmer sea surface temperatures than usual, Helene will be traveling in an environment that is particularly favorable to intensification. Berg stated that although 125 miles per hour sustained winds are predicted by the official forecast for Thursday, those winds might be stronger if Helene rapidly intensifies more than forecast. A resident of Big Bend says, "I'm not sure if my house can handle it." Griffiths, 57, stated that he and his spouse will be heading to his brother's residence on Thursday early, most likely following a late night of reinforcing their own residence. He said, "Everything that I have of value will go with me," referring to picture albums and family artifacts. "My house might not be able to withstand this thing's potential top speed of 135 to 140 miles per hour. Steve Brown, 72, of Cedar Island, who lives a short distance from the Gulf, has been hauling outdoor furniture into his house on stilts 21 feet above sea level for the past 24 hours. He intends to move to a friend's house in the neighboring city of Perry with his wife, Cindy, and their cat, Max, in light of a countywide evacuation. People in this area are quite busy," the retired teacher remarked. "It's not a craze. Since everyone has experienced this previously, they only need to carry out their plan." Southwest Florida residents prepare for Hurricane Helene. Residents of Sarasota, Florida, who live hundreds of miles away from the predicted landfall point of Hurricane Helene, braced themselves for the storm on Wednesday. Sun Garden Cafe owner Rick Munro put sandbags in front of the doors and pulled in patio chairs. Forecasters warn that a significant portion of Florida's coast, including western Sarasota, may be vulnerable to storm surges up to 7 feet high. Regarding storms, he remarked, "If you don't take them seriously, then you're foolish or you just moved here." A general contractor in the area named Paul Samuel said that many of his clients share his concerns regarding the hurricane. One homeowner asked him to move a large amount of furniture from the bottom floor to the second floor. Samuel plans to finish several projects by the end of the day, one of which calls for installing 7 windows and doors before the winds and water pick up. Southeast has a higher chance of tornadoes on Thursday. At 11 p.m. ET on Wednesday, the Hurricane Center reported that Helene was located approximately 425 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida, with maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour and a northward speed of 9 miles per hour. According to the Hurricane Center, there was a chance of tornadoes late on Wednesday in the western half of the Florida peninsula and southern Alabama. The risk of tornadoes increased on Thursday, spreading throughout sections of Florida and into Georgia and South Carolina. Before Hurricane Helene, Florida counties issue evacuations. There are evacuation orders in force in at least 22 counties in Florida. Authorities in Wakulla, Franklin, and Taylor counties, home to roughly 69,000 people, have issued mandatory evacuation orders for all residents and visitors within their jurisdiction. Residents are advised to take the storm's potential for 15 feet of storm surge very seriously. The Taylor County Sheriff's Office posted on Facebook that Hurricane Helene is predicted to be a catastrophic and life-threatening storm system. This system will be unlike anything we have experienced to date. A curfew is effective from sunset to sunrise. Repeat, this is a mandatory evacuation order for everyone. Because of the possibility of strong winds, residents of Leon County, which includes Tallahassee, were instructed to leave their mobile and prefabricated homes and find shelter by 8 a.m. Thursday, the county's emergency alert stated. The Florida Division of Emergency Management reports that in addition to the 17 counties that stretch across the state's western coast from the Panhandle to a point just south of Sarasota, officials have declared either mandatory or voluntary evacuations. Public schools, several major universities, and government offices and facilities have also been announced to be closed. Parts of North Florida face a nightmare situation because of the Helene forecast. Leon County Commissioner Rick Minor advised citizens to be mindful of the impending storm. Minor claimed he was briefed by Leon County emergency management personnel, who stated that the county will suffer a direct impact if the present track holds, in an email to constituents on Tuesday night. On Thursday we'll face about 6 hours of sustained winds of 74 to 110 mph, leading to thousands of downed trees, more than 100 blocked roads, hundreds of damaged structures, and many, many days of extended power outages, he stated. But we mustn't panic. Fortunately, we all have enough time to carefully plan and prepare. Hours after emergency managers ordered all county residents to evacuate, National Weather Service forecasters delivered a sobering wake-up call to residents of Wakulla, Franklin, and Taylor counties. This forecast, if realized, is a nightmare surge scenario for Apalachee Bay. Please, please, heed any orders to evacuate carefully. Island floods increase the risk of landslides and flooding. The National Weather Service's Weather Prediction Center said on Wednesday that an unusual, high-risk area for extreme rainfall on Thursday has been created for parts of the southern Appalachians due to the prediction of severe inland rain from Hurricane Helene. The Prediction Center stated that, overall, 5 to 10 inches of rain with isolated totals around 15 inches is forecast over the southeast, meaning that the whole region was prepared for a deluge from Helene. Overspread minor to moderate river flooding is also likely, with isolated severe river flooding possible, and considerable flash and urban flooding is predicted across areas of Florida, the southeast, southern Appalachians, and the Tennessee Valley through Friday due to the anticipated rain. The Weather Prediction Center stated that the rain will also raise the possibility of landslides throughout the southern Appalachians. Does Helene intend to hit the beaches of Mexico? The U.S. Hurricane Center said that there was a tropical storm warning for Rio Lagartos to Cabo Catac and a hurricane warning for Cabo Catac to Tulum, Mexico, encompassing Cozumel. According to the Hurricane Center, the center of Hurricane Helene was predicted to reach the eastern Gulf of Mexico later on Wednesday and Thursday. There is a risk of considerable flooding, according to the Hurricane Center, as Helene is predicted to produce total rain accumulations of 4 to 8 inches over western Cuba, the Cayman Islands, and the northeastern Yucatan Peninsula, with isolated totals of around 12 inches. What is storm surge, and why is the Gulf of Mexico susceptible to Hurricane Harvey? Storm surge is another lethal hazard that is a serious issue for the western coast of Florida, in addition to strong winds and heavy rainfall. Hurricane winds in the open ocean force water toward the storm's center, where it spirals downward and flows outward rather than stacking up. The storm moves closer to land and shallow water, blocking the outflowing water and forcing the ocean to surge onto land. As the water is forced lower, part of it is pushed out to sea and some of it is pushed toward the coast. Forecasters estimate that Helene will slam into the Florida Big Bend with a 15-foot surge, while other coastal locations, like Tampa Bay, may only witness an 8-foot surge. As the storm churns over the warm waters of the Gulf, it is forecast to quickly strengthen into a major hurricane. Its continental shelves, which stretch well over 100 miles out from the coastline, are one of the elements that make coastal cities along the Gulf of Mexico more susceptible to piling water, On the Atlantic coast, narrower shelves with steeper slopes result in a lesser surge. DeSantis advises Floridians to get ready for Hurricane Helene. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida declared a state of emergency encompassing 61 counties, and he advised residents to brace for a possible severe hurricane. Right now you do have time, so take advantage of that time, DeSantis advised. Review your plan and make sure you're executing your hurricane preparedness plan. Avoid getting married to these cones. You might not be inside the cone and still have significant effects. With Helene predicted to intensify quickly, the Florida Gulf Coast is under a hurricane warning. Helene stymies oil production in the Gulf. With the second hurricane in 2 weeks expected to rip through offshore oil-producing regions, American oil producers rushed on Monday to evacuate personnel from platforms used for oil production in the Gulf of Mexico. Just 2 weeks ago, Hurricane Francine raged across the Gulf of Mexico, peaking as a Category 2 with winds of 100 miles per hour as it made landfall in Louisiana. Oil majors BP, Chevron, and Shell have started evacuating offshore staff, and many have suspended some production.